The following is based on true events that never happened. The Blackening was directed by Tim Story, whose body of work includes films such as Barbershop, Taxi, the 2005 version of Fantastic Four, its sequel that came out a mere 2 years later, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, Ride Along, and the abysmal atrocity that was the 2021 version of Tom and Jerry. Tim Story has proven himself to be a more than competent director, understanding how to do big budget stuff with action and even some satire thrown in, like in the Fantastic Four movies that I mentioned. And also Barbershop was pretty entertaining. He understands how to do social commentary, mix the comedy, social commentary, satire, Human Centipede all together, serve it to you, and make stuff pretty good. I mean, I'm not saying that all his films have been great, but he understands how to do some pretty good stuff. And then there was a 2021 version of Tom and Jerry where I assume they just offered him a plate full of money. And he said, okay, we got Chloe Grace Moretz, and oh, you're not going to utilize the characters all that much. Fine, fine, fine. I'll do this, and then I'm going to go direct something that I actually want to direct that I have passion about. Enter The Blackening. And this was written by Tracy Oliver, who's done films such as Girls Trip. That actually wasn't all that bad. I should go back and review that at some point. And Barbershop, The Next Cut. And also Dwayne Perkins, who is in this movie as well. And he's done some television. And the cast, Antoinette Robertson, who is beautiful. Good grief, she is beautiful. Dwayne Perkins playing Dwayne. Evidently, they did not think that Dwayne would remember his own name. Or maybe Dwayne was convinced that Dwayne would not remember anything other than the Dwayne name. I said Dwayne so much, it has lost all goddamn meaning. Satirical Walls, who was in the most recent White Men Can't Jump. He's been in other stuff. And my God, at least he's better here because I've shat things out better than White Men Can't Jump. And I blame Jack Harlow, and I blame the fact that that movie wasn't funny, or witty, or good, or necessary. Satirical Walls, though, he's pretty good. Has a commanding presence on screen. Grace Myers, and then you have a few others. Somebody called X Mayo, she's the plus-size individual that's in this. It's very, very boisterous. And then you have Melvin Gregg, and you also have Jermaine Fowler. And if you've seen the trailers, if you've even seen one trailer, Jermaine Fowler is the one that kind of looks like a bunch of Eddie Murphy characters mixed together. That's, I think, what they patterned his character after. He plays Clifton, not Sweetwater Clifton, but he's the nerdy one that, you know, couldn't, that just, you know, he's just along for the ride. And basically 7 friends, all African Americans, gather at a remote cabin in the woods. Their friends have rented this cabin, but their friends are gone. They're like, our friends are away, so we will play. And they drink and party and find a game room with something called The Blackening. And the center of it is straight out of the Al Jolson Jazz Singer playbook. If you have seen that movie, you get it. And from there, they must play the game. They must survive against somebody that basically is a mixture of Evil Uno and the monster from Track of the Moonbeast if they had a baby. If you get either of those references, or in some cases, both those references, I love you guys, and you're not going to unsee it. You're welcome. And they must play along and also play up the stereotypes of African-American people in horror movies, because they all can't die first, since the entire cast, sans one, well, sans a couple, is made up of entirely African-American people. So they all can't die first. And from there, we have a comedy, horror comedy that tries to be satirical, tries to be funny, tries to be horrifying, and pretty much misses the mark on all 3. I'm not going to say this is bad, but just for the viral marketing, you know, viral as the kids say, whether you saw a trailer before any movie in the last few months, or whether you saw trailers on TV, or on the information superhighway, or active billboards, running, you know, video billboards on buses that I assume are either happening now or somewhere in the very near future. So you're going to have to race along the bus to watch the trailer and hopefully not crash. What am I on about? Who goddamn knows? You see trailers everywhere, so it's impossible to avoid the trailers for this. And this was marketed as the next great horror comedy. And it was the greatest horror comedy since Get Out. And they did all this stuff and everything. They talked about that. Here's the difference. No. Yeah, they think this is as good as Get Out. They think this is up there with Get Out. No. Let me say there's effort here, and I appreciate what the cast was doing. But for every joke that landed, and some landed, 2 or 3 missed. And when they missed, it was a resounding thud. There were a few chuckle moments, There are a few gore spots, none of which are horrifying. I mean, this isn't horrifying enough to be a horror movie. It's not comedic enough to be a comedy. It's not satirical enough to be a satire. And every satirical moment that works, we're like, okay, we get it. And then they kind of just play the joke and they do this. And then some people might have a little bit of spark where a little bit of energy gets added and then nothing really works. This movie did not click like I had hoped. And I didn't expect it to be great. I honestly expected it actually to be a lot worse than it was. Thankfully, I was wrong. And hopefully this movie actually will get some attention at the box office. It's opening up against The Flash and Elemental, and while Across the Spider-Verse is going. So I'm worried this movie might actually get swallowed up by another comedy that's coming out next week, No Hard Feelings. And then there's another one coming out July 7th called Joyride. So there's a lot of dirty comedies coming out this summer. It's going to be very interesting. It doesn't really take much effort to figure out who's behind all this. Like, really, I mean, they basically give it away in the trailer. I'm just going to say, they give it away in the fucking trailer. Like, that's pretty much all I can say right there without getting into spoilers. And it's all right. It's all right. That's all I'm going to say. Again, Antoinette Robertson, freaking beautiful. And there's a good cast here. They try. But I'm sorry, this did not ultimately click to me. It missed the mark more than it should have, especially for a comedy that has this much talent in front and behind the camera. And Tim Story has proven that he knows what the fuck he's doing. It's definitely cut above some of the other stuff that he's done, like Tom and Jerry, the 2021 version. Jesus Christ, that was so bad. But can't necessarily say that this movie was all that great. I am going to get into spoilers. That's really all I have to say about that. So, nevertheless, check it out in theaters if you want. Maybe you'll enjoy it. Maybe you won't. Let me know what you guys thought. So 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Okay, so basically, there are two friends in the beginning. They find this game room. They play the game, the Blackening. The guy ends up getting an arrow through his neck from a crossbow. And then the other one gets captured. The woman in the duo gets captured. Then the other friends arrive. So basically, X-Mayo's character is in this gas station, and she sees this weird guy with an eye patch, or like, you know, he's just not, he's working at this desolate gas station. He's kind of keeping an eye on her, and then she runs into Clifton. They can never remember Clifton's name. None of the people can. She takes him there. He doesn't have an Android charger. He doesn't have any of this stuff. They believe in iPhones. He believes in Android. Everybody gathers. Shunka Walls and Antoinette Robertson, they, you know, basically, a couple characters get together. Everybody else, Dwayne Perkins plays a gay man. Nothing wrong with that. If you have a problem with gay people, fuck you. And every character plays up, you know, just basically kind of being one-note characters. And then the power goes out. They go into the game room. They find the Blackening, you know, board game with the Al Jolson picture. And then this television turns on with the Al Jolson deal and everything. These televisions somehow are all over the goddamn place. And the evil Uno Track of the Moon Beast individual says, "Yeah, answer these 10 questions and your friend lives. Otherwise, screw you. You're all," it's like, she's dead and then you're gonna die. You're all gonna die. And they answer these questions and everything, and some of it's funny, some of it's like the one about Friends. The correct answer was, it's like, I don't care. I don't know. I don't watch that shit. Friends is a terrible show, by the way. Just want to say. But then they must determine who is the blackest. And basically they had to pick one person to sacrifice. They picked Clifton. And then Clifton is sent out. Clifton gets shot with an arrow. And there you go. So then people are getting picked off. Some people are getting shot with arrows. One, at one point, pulls out an arrow from Melvin Gregg's character and, you know, ends up stabbing herself in the shoulder because she's an idiot. And that's what they play up. And there's a little romance. There's a little bit of stuff like this. And then it turns out that basically, and this thing drags for a bit. I do want to say. There's one where they all split up. They try to rescue their friend from the basement. that doesn't end up working. Because, you know, there's only so much they can do. And then it turns out that there's not one killer, but two. Actually, there's three killers. So, there was this one part in the very beginning, there was rap, as our Lord and Savior Dr. Dre once said, where the hostess, she takes a picture of a white family that happens to have two boys, twin boys, by the way, puts that picture up, and then it turns out that the guy with the eye patch from, you know, he only has one eye from the gas station, he's one of the killers. He gets his ass beat after, basically a couple of them just besiege him. And you have another character that gets all Rambo-like and has these, because she's on Adderall and she's stabbing him, and then he dies. They find out information about him. And then there's another part where, it's a part in the trailer where the woman's got a candlestick. Why are black women always having to save everybody else's lives or fix this shit? Or whatever the hell she's saying. She's saying a lot of stuff. And then it turns out that it's the other twin guy. But oh ho ho, there's a third kid. Clifton. It's Clifton. Like, you couldn't have fucking guessed that. And why is that? Because he was always made fun of. He was at that party that they were at, you know, that they talked about some 10 years ago. He drank a lot. He drove home. He ran into a woman that he did not see because he was driving drunk. And he went to jail for 4 years. Well, everybody else has successful lives. And that's why he has plastic explosives and he's going to blow them up. And he's been dumping bodies down this, you know, well, mine shaft thing that happens to be in the basement. Because why not? And he paid these guys, those two twin boys, some money to take care of them. They didn't, so he's going to take care of them. And it's four of them facing off, and basically he says, Lisa, you have to choose. You have to choose. And then she decides, you know, which to sacrifice. She picks herself. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. And then there's another running gag that they had during this where friends had internal monologues with, and, you know, could communicate with each other. But then turns out Clifton also has this, and they took away the element of surprise. And then they end up dispatching Clifton, and he goes down the goddamn mine shaft thanks to some chili powder in the eyes, which you would think that they would have had to have gotten right under because he was wearing glasses, but nevertheless. And then they're all waiting for people to come along, because at one point, a cop had stopped one of the characters before they got in the house, and then showed up, and then did the whole I'll be right back thing. And then he got killed. And they were trying to play or pick and choose. Who could it possibly be? It was Clifton. It was obvious. And again, it's playing up the satire. It's playing up all this stuff. But it's not horrifying. It's not satirical. Though they do have a few things in the end credits. They called the fire, you know, the fire and rescue. So they called the firemen. Because they wouldn't shoot. And then one of them, they sprayed them with a hose. Because, you know, because let's just play up the whole stereotype there. Terrible that people got sprayed with, that was terrible. I mean, that it actually happened in real life. But yeah, the Blackening, C+. It's all right. It has a few chuckle moments, but it's really not that good. It's just above average. I mean, the cast does what they can, but yeah, can't really say that this one was great. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm Charm Rickland. I'll see you soon.